So we're getting into our brand new heavy for the month of September. As I said, in our brand new heavy, we are celebrating and we are joined by quite a dynamic young man in the studio for today. In our brand new heavy, we celebrate a young person in South Africa, 35 years and below, who is doing the things in their industry. And for today, we are joined by Lindo Mnisi, who is an entrepreneur, just to understand, what's going on in his business, some of, hardware, I believe, and I think some property as well. And we're going to be understanding the journey and also at the same time where he wants to go. So I think just to get things rolling, Lindo, thank you so much, for being with us today. You heard me on the Buffalo Index talking about the
Yes.
screwdrivers, right? I think it only works well for you to give us what are the basics. If I am a man, if you're a person who just wants to have like a basic toolbox at your house, right? What are some of the basics that you recommend that people should have? What is starter pack? Yeah.
No, thank you very much for having me. Really, really appreciate. So obviously I've heard the Buffalo Index, and you are spot on. I think, as to begin with, every person, let's not even say every man or every woman, but every human being needs to have like the basic DIY tools, or a toolbox as we call it, and we
Yeah.
always encourage that. I mean, in our hardware spaces, when someone comes through, we always encourage that you must have something. Because I mean, if your cupboard door gets loose on the screws, you can't now be struggling on what to do, or use a knife or whatnot.
Yeah.
So you need to have a set of screwdrivers, the right sizes, the flats, the star.
Yeah.
You need to have your basics. Your screwdriver is very important. The pliers, a hammer, a pop john if you wanna go now,
Yeah.
heavy duty and
A
stuff.
little stronger there.
A little, but yeah, there are some basics that you can have. A screwdriver is very important. Your hammer, your plier, very, very important. So those are the type of things that you can have in the house. And then if you need to do a little bit of gardening here and there, you can have, your shovel. You can have your, just to cut some grass. Sometimes grass grows in, even when you are using, you've got your, what's this, tiles, the paving. Grass just has a way of coming out. You need
Mm.
something to just cut it out. So have the basics of the basic in the house to just sort out some stuff.
Okay, cool. So now that we know the basics, maybe we can get into how you got into actually selling,
Yeah.
the basics, and hardware. And I think we spoke earlier about property, etc.
Yes. Yes.
For people that are I wish people were here in studio with us, because he's actually wearing a shirt.
Oh
It's got
yes.
the name of the brand, Andura Hardware, on it, and you recently opened your third
Oh,
shop,
third one. Yes.
recently, and I think that's actually amazing. So firstly, how old are you? Right, and then secondly, maybe you could give us a little bit of insight into Andura as a business.
Yes. So I'm 30 years old.
Yep.
30 years old, turning 31 very soon enough, in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
I still fall within the youth.
Yes.
I heard you were
Now
saying.
listen. We're both in the youth. We're fighting, to stay in the youth
Just to remain
category.
here. But yeah, and then it's quite an amazing thing for us to be doing this at
Mm.
at this level, because I mean, the space that I'm in is not a sexy type of business where you can be flamboyant and be happy and all. It's a hardware business.
Yeah.
It's a property space. It's the built environment space.
Yeah.
But how many young people are we getting into the space, and how many are we inspiring to come into the space? So that's where I will begin. And my journey begins obviously in the property space. So we run a company called After 12 Properties, in which we are building rental units within the townships,
Yeah.
basically, opening up that space, ensuring that as we get an influx of people coming into the township, there needs to be enough accommodation for people to live in. So what we then did, while we were busy building our rental units, we realized that there is a challenge that we faced while we were building the rental units, of getting the material closer to us, to our site. Every time we had to go and get the building materials, get the DIY tools, we have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to go into the bigger hardware stores far away, and for them to bring the product here where we are building. So we thought, as soon as we are done with the rental units that we were building, why not just take the rental income and the investments that we're will be getting, and get into the hardware space now, solving exactly the problem we were facing, to say we have a problem where of getting the products to us where we are building. So now we are going to build the hardware stores in the township, so that we solve the problems that people are facing when they need to build their rental units. So that's how the hardware space what idea basically came about, to say we need to just bring hardware stores closer to the people where they need them. So Andura Hardware is a retailer of hardware items, DIY tools, and building materials, focusing strictly on the township. And we do it so well that we'll speak about the business model as we go forward. But we are basically focusing on the township, your mini hardware stores within the township, so that people can get what they need close by, and they can just take a wheelbarrow and walk into a hardware store without going the extra mile to pay exorbitant amount of money to just get 2 bags of cement. So we are basically just bringing the convenience in the township.
Okay, cool. That's actually, very good, and I like the fact that you've already mentioned, the two businesses that you're involved in, and
Yeah.
and you telling the journey, you actually identify the problem that you faced that forced you to get into the second business, and I like that a lot. How long has it been?
In terms of the hardware,
Yeah,
or
but actually both of them. Yeah.
both of them. So I'll start with the hardware because it's quite interesting. We are actually turning 2 years now in October. We are celebrating our 2 years anniversary.
Ooh, so it's a COVID business.
It's actually a COVID business. It's actually a COVID business. I like
Yeah.
that you mentioned that, because we started Andura Hardware at the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we decided to because there were so many challenges that people were facing, and you couldn't go. Some of the hardware stores were closed, like the bigger hardware stores were closed. You couldn't access material, you couldn't access cement. There was a shortage of from the suppliers and whatnot, and hardware stores were closed. And we looked at that, we're like, this is a problem. And we decided to put everything together and just start that. So it's a COVID business. They started during the peak of the pandemic, and we just rolled it, and now starting with the first one, went to the second one in the following year, and then now we're on the third one, and we're just trying to go as much as we can, and people will be seeing us in the township near them in the future. In terms of after 12 properties and the properties we are rolling out, we've got like 5 properties and 15 rental units, because how we're doing it there is we get the property, and one that has a big enough space for us to build rental units, because we're also trying to bring convenience in the township, making sure that there are back rooms, there are cottages, and there are apartments here and there for the different taste and the different levels of people, the lifestyle that people want to live. So we provide all of that using the 5 properties, and we're looking into expanding, going more. So that business has been running since 2018. It should be turning 4 years, or close to 5 years right now. So 2 years of Andura Hardware, and then like 4 years of after 12 properties.
Okay, cool. So I'm doing some quick maths here. If you're turning 31 this year, then it means you started the first business when you were what? 27, 26, turning 27, somewhere there. Um, what was happening before the properties business? Did you ever work in corporate? Were you always a business person? Did you just study until you were 26? What was happening before you got into the properties business?
Yeah, there's a lot that was happening before that. Obviously, I studied. I went to university. I studied something totally different and totally
Where did you go?
unrelated. I went to TUT, the Tshwane University of Technology. I was there 2011, 2012, 2013. In fact, I was studying journalism. So I studied journalism. I worked as a journalist for SABC. I've worked for ENCA. I've worked for ANN7. I know the Guptas, we can't mention much, but I did work for ANN7 as a journalist there, field journalist and whatnot. But I think for me, it was always about empowering of people. I think all that I always want to do is to empower people. I always want to do something that is related to empowering people. And as I was continuing with my journey in my career, I obviously the stories that I was covering, it wouldn't be crime and all these other things. It would always be general news on touching on the lives of people. So that was when I realized that actually what makes me happy is when I'm wherever I exist, someone's life is being empowered. So I left journalism. 2015, I decided to resign from ENCA and I went strictly to business. I was 23 years old, I think 23 going to 24 and stuff. And I started a company where we were manufacturing graduation attires.
Oh, okay.
Graduation attires we were manufacturing at our peak, 2015, 2016, 2017. We had like 10 employees and a number of agents in all universities. At Vets, we had an agent here that was knocking on people's doors and posting on social media that whenever there's graduation, here's where you get your graduation attires at UJ, all other institutions, because we knew which type of regalia they wear, which type of colors for each faculty and whatnot. So we were running that business. I was still young. So and then something happened and that business died. Just before you ask me, so where's that business now? That business died, and I had to go back to look for a job because it was really that tough. But luckily, I had the qualification, I had the skills, so I went into PR and communication, worked in PR and communication. But always the entrepreneurial bug always beat me. So I was like, okay, I need, because I can't run away from all these voices of me having to empower people and create jobs and build communities and all. So I had to now leave that job again, in which I worked there for like 3.5 years, and then I went back now full time again into entrepreneurship, starting off with the rental units, with the property space. From the property, then the ANDURA hardware was born, and I think I'm quite happy in the hardware space.
That's actually quite a deep journey. If I think about it, because chronologically, I'm thinking, you go to university, 2 or 3 years. You said 2011 to 2013,
Yeah.
TUT, study journalism, get out of that, get into the field, SABC, ENCA, and the like, and then you quit in 2015. Then you run the graduation,
Yeah.
the
Until
graduation attire
2017.
business until 2017. You quit that. No, fine. I won't say you quit that. It quit you in a way. And then you get into PR.
Yes, PR communications.
Then you leave PR. Then you decide, okay, fine, I'm going to get into property. That's quite a journey. Interested in the childhood aspect,
Right.
right? Before you get to TUT, I'm guessing that what you call this, that you grew up in Gauteng.
No, actually,
Oh, really?
I'm from Mpumalanga. I'm
Okay.
from a village called Donald, and then later moved to another village called Lothe, which all fall under Ermelo. So I'm from Ermelo in Mpumalanga. That's where I grew up, with my single parent, obviously my mom, and my two siblings. So I'm from Mpumalanga. I'm not from Gauteng.
Okay.
I go when people go on holiday, I go home.
I actually think, I'm trying to think, Ermelo, I think I've been there before, sort of close to Middleburg.
Yes, you
Yes.
just pass Middleburg and just go straight down.
Yeah. So I remember the, what you call this. I remember the area. That's actually interesting. And so, okay, cool. What makes you, given where you grew up,
Yeah.
and then you obviously moved to Joburg at some point, but you went north and then you came back because you went to TUT and then you sort of came back. At what point do you decide that where you want to focus your business attention is in the township? Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm
Interesting
interested
question.
in that because someone could have said, no, I want to go back to my village and build there, or all of these things. A lot of people want to be in Sandton, for
Yes.
example. Others want to go back home to where they were raised, but you decided that, okay, fine, no, the township is where the opportunity is.
Absolutely. So, and it's an interesting question. I love that because that's one of the things that I had to look at, because most of our businesses that I've worked in and things that I've touched on, it's really unapologetically strictly township, because and the reason for that and not village is because I think for me, having lived the life that I lived in a village, because it's like when I say village, I'm not trying to, it's a real village. So getting into a township for me was a big upgrade. It's still a big upgrade to get into the township space. People, the way people talk, the way people move, the way people do things. And I remember there was a time when I had to decide to either move and live in a more suburban area myself, because I could at some point, afford to go and live there. And I was like, you know what? I love this, man. I love the vibe around here. I love, and that's my mind has always been, centered around. There's more. Like Township is a gold mine. In terms of business, Township is a gold mine. Even everyone is now looking into what can we do within the Township. So, to answer just your question, Township for me, it was to say this is a good space business wise. It's a gold mine, but also in terms of the things that we want to change about this country, the people that needs to be empowered, they're there in the Township. We need to change a lot of things. The spatial planning in terms of my property business now, we're looking into how did people get so, flocking into townships? How does that happen? What can we do within the township to ensure that people are getting the services that they would want from your more affluent areas? What can we do? Can we build more properties that are more, nicer, more secured, more safe, more beautiful and inhabitable? So we're trying to bring that into the township. So our businesses is to try to ensure that we bring convenience within the township and also empower the township, so that people, those who want to move from village, township, and then more suburb areas, more sentient, they can go through that journey, and which is a journey that I've decided I want to walk, from village to township, and then we'll see how things go as time goes.
No, I like that very much. Which I think maybe we'll have one more question before we take a break. For this part. But one of the things I find very interesting, and I think we might have to revisit it ourselves, because we've explored the township economy on many occasions. On this program, and it's exactly like what you said. There is huge opportunity. In that space. 2 weeks ago, we had a young lady who runs a student accommodation business. In the township, she helps landlords to find students.
Nice.
And she's thriving. I met her because she's part of a Telkom incubator program. Right, that's how dope this business is. The likes of Telkom, they took note and said, no, what this young lady is doing needs to be supported, etc. So I'm definitely feeling you there. Before we take a break, structure, right? Because there's a lot going on in your life, right? I'm very interested to understand the people that you have around you, because on two fronts, right? Firstly, it's because right now I can imagine that you've just opened your what you call this, your third shop.
Yes.
You also have a property business. You must be very busy, right? So, what type of people do you have around you, that structure?
Yeah.
And also at the same time, I can imagine that, the first time that you quit and decided you're going to be an entrepreneur, there were people around you that you're either consulting or were saying, Lindo, that's either, because either people say, oh, that's a brilliant idea, or they're like, Lindo, why are you leaving, these great jobs, etc. So just talk to us about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great, brilliant question. So the support structure, I think, from my family side, I think I've got a very supportive family. From my mom's side, my mom's still alive. So she's very supportive of everything that I decide to do. Because, as I'm one person that takes the decision, but before doing that, I do consult to say I'm thinking of, at 23, I'm thinking of quitting my job. It's not every parent that will say okay, but also because they know that I'm a different type of a person, comparing to my peers, my siblings, all those. But they know that as soon as I've made up my mind on something, I have thought about it, I've done my research. So I do have a good support structure in terms of that. So I research on something before I do it. And when I do it, when I communicate to people, they know that, okay, maybe he thought about it, he'll be fine. But if there are hiccups there, let's just open the door for him to come back and consult. So I do have very good people around me that are supportive. Mentors as well, very important. It's important to have someone that you can always go to ask for guidance. I find that for me, it's quite tricky because um, it's not a lot of times where I have to go to somebody more older, more business, but I do have those type of people that
Okay.
are just a WhatsApp away to say, hey, I'm thinking of getting into this. Hey, what do you need? How can we support you? How can we do this? And it's always me to say, yeah, I'm just alerting you. I'm not saying, bring in monies, because I know business, sometimes we run these businesses and you think 3 hardware stores, there must be some big monies coming from outside, from elsewhere. No, actually, it's coming from me. Everything is coming from me. It's coming from us as the team. And I've learned one of the beautiful skills in business to be able to trust the people that you bring on board. So I've got a very capable team, a team of managers that are the ones that are scouting the area, scouting the people, scouting the type of business, the suppliers, who do we speak to. So I don't even have to do anything. I actually sit in my office and they run the thing, and I trust them to be able to do that. So I've got a very good and supportive structure in terms of the team, very supportive structure in terms of the family. So I'm lucky. It's not everyone that can be
Yes.
this lucky. So I've got a good team. I've got good family to support me.
No, lucky indeed. Always great to have people around you that can keep you grounded, people that can support you, and people that will be there as you pursue, the things that you want to be doing. Yeah, this particular case, property, and the hardware business, and obviously all the career changes that happened, along the way. So we are in conversation with Lindo Kutle, Mnisi, who is an entrepreneur, who was giving us some insight into the business and how he came up to the world of entrepreneurship. There always seems to be a yearning in him to get into this, and he was also telling us how he's decided deliberately to focus on the township market because he believes that there is a huge opportunity in that particular market, and also at the same time some of the teachings and learnings that he had, growing up over in Pumalanga. We're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side of this, we will be getting into a little bit, around, where Lindo decides, or wants to go in terms of business and anything else that he has going on. So that's it. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side of this. Area code.
We're speaking all things what your parents ridiculous thing they've ever asked us to do. My mother actually asked me to pass
Is
her.
it?
It was literally
So, do you want to speak or
all
not?
she had to do was put her arm.
Huh?
I do a little now
Okay,
that I'm
cool.
here,
Come.
but come on.
Come
Come.
through.
You
Come
just wanted
through.
me to say yes.
Yes, because it's just another voice to be like, you know, where did you find this person?
Yes.
Yes.
So you
And
can
what and
give
what
that
do you think
breakdown.
of his hustle? That's it. Yeah, just
Oh,
not.
you also asked me a question.
Yeah, I'm just asking you a question of where did you find this guy? So we are in conversation, as I said, it's our brand new heavy week, and we are talking to Lindo Mnisi, who is an entrepreneur, and we just came before the break, just talking a little bit, around his journey, his life, and how he actually got into business and where he is now. But right now, I wanted to turn the focus just a little bit, to one of our producers, that is Lindle. CB, who is what do you call this? She's been with us for a number of years, and she actually is the one who suggested, to say, guys, there's this guy, who's running a bunch of hardware shops, and I think, he would be a great suggestion. So for me, it's just two things, right? Because obviously, Slee knows Lindo. So for me, it's two things. Firstly, where did you find, this person? And then secondly, what do you think of his hustle?
We met on LinkedIn. His
So
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is working.
It's definitely working. It's definitely working for people that want LinkedIn to work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we met on LinkedIn. I host seminars on the side with regards to property, and I was looking for someone who was doing something different in the property space, and it was interesting for me to meet Lindo, because Lindo, you know how all of us are trying to leave the township because we want to be in the city, we want to be in the suburbs. And then I met someone who's doing the property investing that we're interested in knowing about, but he's going back to the township.
Oh,
So that was different.
yeah, yeah,
It was a story that people needed to hear about.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. No, no, no. Thank you so much. We just had to hear, that origin story because I remember when we were looking for guests for this show, Lindo, I think one of the things that we often talk, at least in a corporate sense,
Yeah.
right? We often talk about mentors. We also talk about sponsors, right? The people that advocate on your behalf, even when you're not in the room,
Yeah.
right? And it's always great to hear that voice, of that other voice, just around, people from that point of view. So at least it sounds like things are going well, in terms of how you're marketing yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
branding, that type of thing. And I like the fact that even, Slee had to ask the question to be like, the fact that you've decided that you're going to focus specific on the township. I'm
Yes.
glad that I'm not the only one who's found that to be quite an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So right now, where things are, you're in business. Other businesses, we understand that you've just opened the third one, but because it's a business platform, we have to ask,
Yeah.
are you making money?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the interesting one. I will answer it.
Yeah.
And then before that, I want to go back to the part about the marketing and the how we are communicating, and the fact that she mentioned the fact of LinkedIn, which I find that young people need to find a way to ensure that they communicate what they do and they communicate to the right people. I'm not the type of person that's now trying to be known and seen as the most flamboyant and the money, because the money could be coming in.
Yeah.
And now I'm seen to be, you need to communicate at the level that you want to be perceived and the level that you are actually trying to get yourself to. That's why I hear you're calling me Lindo Guhle and Lindo Mnisi, which is my name. I appreciate it. But I've had to, because of where my journey is going, I needed to simplify it for people to be able to call me, whether you are vendor, you are Pedi, you are Afrikaans and whatnot, Lindo. So it's Lindo, so that everyone,
Branding.
yeah, branding. So it
Yeah.
starts there. And how do I get that right? It's because I'm a journalist by profession.
Yeah.
And I've done PR, I've done
yes,
communication.
yes.
So now I get into the most boring part of business, which is real estate and hardware stores. But I'm bringing all that branding and the communication aspect into it, which is very helpful, which is ensuring that we communicate what our intentions are. And for us, I know people call it a business, I call it a vision. We are running a vision and we are bringing people into the vision. So are we making money? I can definitely say, they always say in business that the first 3 years is probably the hardest, because in the first 3 years you break even, and I think that's where we are. We are breaking even.
Okay.
I think we're at the point where we are breaking even. I'm proud to say that ever since we started in the peak of the pandemic, we've never missed salaries. We've never missed salaries. We've never missed our financial obligations. We've never missed our rent. We've never missed any, financial obligations that we have as a business, and we've got a number of those. So that for me is a blessing, to be able to continuously stock the product, bring it into the shop, sell it to people, and be able to cover the finances that you are covering. But also, it's helpful for us to grow as a business, because if we were not making any income, we wouldn't be able to open the second one, the third one, the fourth one that is coming, because we are really, really working towards rolling out these hardware stores in many different townships, because we are really focusing on bringing hardware stores to the township people and remote areas. We've now incorporated the remote areas type of focus, because we realize that there are many areas like Limpopo, for instance. Limpopo, people are building houses there.
Yeah.
Like they're really building serious houses in Limpopo. But most of them, when they come through to our hardware stores here in the township in Gauteng, they say, guys, come on, man, they're at home. I'm struggling. I'm even thinking of buying your buckets of paint here and travel with them to Limpopo, because there's no hardwares there. So people have to travel there. So now we are getting that challenge to say, we need to look into the township, but also look into the remote areas like villages and whatnot. So it's part of the strategy that we're looking at now to say, how do we expand and go forward? So yeah, we are definitely breaking even. We are able to cover our working, operating expenses, and that is a blessing. It's all thanks to our customers and the people that support us from the communities that we serve in.
No, I think it's a very important point on two fronts. Firstly, I always feel like as Black people, we don't have enough conversations about money.
Yeah.
Right. Just as a whole, we just need to educate each other. And sometimes it's not even about the specifics of, tell us how much money you're making. No. It's just to say that to show people that, you started a business and, the business has gotten to a stage where you're using the money that you're making from trading to actually grow,
Yes.
open one branch after another. The fact that you haven't missed salaries, those are very important things, because a lot of people tend to start businesses as a side hustle, and it stays in that side hustle lane for a long time, because it's not able to sustain you.
Yeah.
So, to show people that it is possible, even at the height of COVID, to start a business and it becomes sustainable, is always great, from that point of view. Going forward, then, right, we've got property, we've got the hardware business now, and in the past, there was also a graduation attire business. What's next in the piece? Is it deepening, these two businesses that you have now and expanding this, or are there other areas that you want to get into?
Absolutely, that's a good one, and it's something that I always ask myself, because one of the things is that, remember, I'm a journalist by profession. I could have chosen something that is in line and related to journalism. I could have chosen something that is in line with PR and marketing, because that's the space that is related to media. But I've chosen something totally different because probably I'll call it a calling. I've been called into a space that serves people, and a space that serves to empower people. So I think in this stage of my life, I think I can't really say where I'm gonna go in terms of business, but I know that I'm an entrepreneur, and not a businessman. So there's a difference in my mind, at least, on that. To say you're an entrepreneur, all you do is focus on anything and everything that is in line with where the country is going or where the world is going. You tap into that and ensure that you bring in people that can manage that and run that. That's why we speak about property, but there's nothing much that I'm doing on property. I'm really not doing anything, because we build that thing, it's there, it's running on its own. You get people to manage it, you get people, they do that. My focus now is on the hardware space. Focus is on the hardware space, and I think that is a space that I'm going to focus more on, because it has a direct impact and a direct, it falls right into what I'm trying to do. In my mind, every time, I just want to build communities. I want to empower people. I want to change lives and create jobs. That is what I want to do. So a business that is helping me to be able to do that, the building of communities, I'm able to do that by bringing hardware stores closer to the people, so that people can build their homes, build their community and whatnot. Changing lives. We just had a donation that we made as a hardware store now. As small as we are already rolling out our Changing Lives initiative, to say if someone is building a house for a destitute family, we come through, we supply them we donate some of the products, we donate some of the paint and whatnot. We've done that. We've just recently started that, donating paint. And then there's the creation of jobs. I've just mentioned that we've got a very brilliant, capable team that is running our hardware stores. We continuously, every time we open a hardware store, obviously we'll be hiring people. So the creation of jobs, very important for me. And then the inspiring. I just want to be the guy that inspires people. I just want to be the guy that people can look up to and say, this guy live the poverty that I grew up in, live that. But there's a guy that we saw hustling, we saw building things, we saw doing things that actually are inspirational. So I just want to inspire. And I think in the next journey of my life, I will focus on those four things: build communities, change lives, create jobs, and inspire. So any business that can help me do that, I'll be tapping into that business.
Okay, cool. Before we let you go, it's two things. Firstly, I'm not sure whether you want to share or not, but you know, have you gotten to a stage where you have kids yet?
Yes, I do. I have two beautiful kids.
Uh,
Um, I have two beautiful kids, a
it,
daughter and a son. Yeah.
a daughter and a son.
Yeah.
And I think the question on this one is about would you, let's say it's, 10, 15, 20 years from now, and they say, Dad, we want to get into business.
Mm.
Would you support them getting into business? Or would whatever struggles you've had starting your businesses say, no, I don't want my kids to struggle like that?
Mm. Interesting. That's a brilliant question. Obviously, the way I think about raising my kids and building the life that I'm trying to get to, and my kids are trying to get to, I can't impose on how they do things. I'm a reader. I love reading books.
Mm.
I read books.
Yeah.
Like my daughter now is, so when my daughter was growing up and she's 6 now, I used to read books to her, like read books every night. And I still, now she's 6, and strangely she's able to read her own books now.
Yeah.
She steps into my home office and she's got a space for her books.
Yeah.
So she reads books. But I'm finding that now actually she learns more by watching videos.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
by watching the videos, she, her English articulation, I only started speaking English when I came to Gauteng, which was like in 2010, 2011. So she speaks English. So I think I can't impose on the journey that they need to take, but I will be there to support whatever journey that they take. And the way I would have groomed them is I'll be able to trust them to take the decisions that they are taking. My son on the other side is like one and a quarter, and I can already see that this guy this guy but we'll be there to support them and ensure that they choose a path that is in line with what they like, because you can turn anything into a business. I mean, TikTok just came through recently,
Yeah.
but people have turned that into a business.
Business, yeah.
So if you say to your kid, don't play games, don't there are people who are making money from gaming,
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
And we've got our parents who, when you sit on a TV or play on a phone, they were always shouting at you, don't do
They're
that.
wasting time. Yeah.
But now there's so many things that can be turned into a career. So you can't impose on the next generation to say, this is how life is, this is how the only journey in life. And even the conversation of school, should they go to school or should they not go to, if my daughter decide at grade 12 that, what, this, put it on the table. What can you do if I allow you to leave grade 12? What is it that you're gonna do? Allow that to have a conversation on that, but let's not impose on the journey that the kids are going to take, because the world is changing on its own and we don't know what's going to be happening in the next 20 years.
I like that very much. I'm hoping that I catch up with you in 20 years time, to see how things have gone, on that front. And I think, where we end off the conversation with all our bright new heavies, I think it's going to help us to tie in everything that you've, spoken about today, as well as, family and, the 4 things that you mentioned just now about what the areas that you want to get into. And that is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I think, my legacy, I want just to be the guy that inspired people to chase their dreams.
Yeah.
To be the guy that people saw starting things from the bottom, not be driven by greed or any material things, but someone who's just driven by a vision and driven by a conviction of what they believe they were brought in this world for. And I believe I was brought onto this world to inspire people, motivate, inspire, encourage, create jobs. And I think I want my legacy to be of a guy that wasn't as flashy, lived a very modest life. Even when the money starts flowing in, I pray to always remain the way I am today, because I think that is empowering for me when I see people that are rich, and still wearing the simplest of clothes, still living the modest life. So I want to be, my legacy to be of a guy that just inspired the world by showing that you can build something from nothing and make it something and empower people along the journey. So I just want to empower
All
and
right.
inspire
Empower and inspire.
and
You
inspire.
know, that's it. Very interesting, very fascinating discussion that we've had with our brand new heavy for the month of September. That is Lindo,
This.
right?
The
Mnisi,
branding.
because that's the brand. And, very fascinating just getting in the first half conversation around how he got into business, the career change, starting off in journalism, getting into PR, but having a first business, coming back into the working world, and then still having the wherewithal to decide that no, I'm going to go back and try business again, and actually being in a place where 4 years later he's saying, I'm actually happy with where I am. And actually, one of the things that I find interesting is that he says, going forward, he doesn't want to be tied down by the areas that he's currently in. Wherever the market is going, he's definitely going to go there. And it reminds me of something that DJ Maporisa said. A couple of when people think about someone like Maporisa, you think about piano today, but when you go back, guys, Maporisa made Wachukucha. That was like 10 years ago. And when you hear him talking, he says, I think he says, I am a wave rider. I can't remember the words he says, but he says, wherever the market is, I will ride that wave and I will do it well. And he's done it, for more than a decade. So, we hope that, as ride the waves, that things are also going to be going well. Before we let you go, how can people get in touch? How can people find, your businesses? Give
Yeah.
us those details.
No, absolutely. So, as I've outlined and you've mentioned correctly, my name is Lindo Mnisi. So you type exactly that,
Yeah.
whether be it on Google, whether be on social media, all social media platforms. It's Lindo Mnisi. On LinkedIn, very important because we need to speak business conversation. So reach me on LinkedIn at Lindo Mnisi. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Lindo Mnisi. Like my page on Facebook, everywhere. But also for the business side, you can just visit our website, www.andura.co.za. Doesn't matter where you are, you can order on our website and we'll deliver the product to you. So people must come and look at our products on our website and ensure that don't just live life without a toolbox. Don't do that. It's not right. So get yourself a toolbox and you can get that on our website. You don't have to come to our stores. Get to the website and select the items that you need, so that should you have a problem that you need to tie down your light bulb or whatever you need to sort out, you have it handy to be able to do that. So that's how you reach us. And thank you very much, guys, for having me. Really appreciate it.
No. Thank you so much for being with us. I like that very much. You can't go through life without a toolbox of some sort. So that's been it. We were talking to Lindo Mnisi. You heard all the places that you can go and find him. Thank you so much to him, for being on the show today. And thank you to our team in studio today, to our technical producer, Gwench, as well as Lindo Mnisi, who. Oh, wow. William CB, who is, you see, I caught myself there, who is here with us in studio. And, for finding Lindo, it's really been a great conversation. So don't miss the business bar, same time, same place next week. Now, for more insight into the world of business, coming up next, we will be getting into some hip hop for the next 2 or so hours. I've been Leo Mob Justice Kabasa, and from the rest of the team, it is good evening and take care.
You've been listening to the Business Buzz on Vow FM 88.1. Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. on your radio at 88.1 FM.
Good,
Hear
guys.
it, feel it,